Back in 1981, I had the American dream, the beautiful wife, the house in the suburbs, and a beautiful 6-year-old son. And one day I went to work, kissed my son goodbye, and never saw him again. In 2 weeks, I became the parent of a murdered child, and I'll always be the parent of a murdered child. I still have the heartache. I still have the rage. I waited years for justice. I know what it's like to be there waiting for some answers. And over those years, I learned how to do one thing really well, and that's how to catch these bastards and bring them back to justice. I've become a manhunter. I'm out there looking for bad guys.
It's strange when your parents are dead, but they're still alive. We had a great relationship for the most part. But it kind of breaks my heart because they are dead, really.
This has nothing to do with Hindus, nothing to do with the Hindu religion. This has to do with a guy who used people's desire to find God or a religion that they could believe in to molest children. This is about a pedophile.
Barsana Dham ashram was in the far southwest city limits of Austin, Texas. Basically, an ashram is a spiritual community where people come together to live and to worship. I found this organization, the International Society for Divine Love. I decided this was my spiritual path pretty quickly.
International Society of Divine Love is really just a name for a religious sect that mostly congregates within the United States. They follow basic Hindu philosophies. In the early 90s, they were looking for a place to really settle their society. They had found a large plot of land, about 200 acres in central Texas, outside of Austin, to build a temple, a really magnificent temple.
I was pretty young when we moved to Barsana Dham. I was about 6 years old.
Being a kid at Barsana Dham was pretty amazing. To live on 200 acres of what was about as wild land as you can get in Texas.
So the big desire was to basically be enlightened, and that they used to call that God realized. And that meant that you had renounced all worldly possessions and worldly attachments.
At the ashram, The center of our world was the guru. That was it. There was no other center. Everything was about the guru. What he wanted is what we did.
The leader of the International Society of Divine Love is Prakashanand Saraswati, who we all refer to as Swamiji, which is like a generic term for a guru in Hinduism.
We always felt as kids that he seemed like an Indian version of Santa Claus.
It was sort of understood that Swamiji was God, just on Earth.
Love, deep, mad love. If you were a little kid, you felt like he was this fun grandpa, like the best grandpa. However, there's the flip side. He could be incredibly angry.
That was the side you did not want to experience, but most of us did at one point or another, and it was always referred to as, I got blasted by Swamiji.
It was terrifying when he was upset about something. Very terrifying.
We were told if we said or thought anything negative against the society or against him, we could literally go to hell, and there would be like repercussions that we wouldn't even be able to handle.
There was no move that anybody in that group made without asking him for permission first.
It's when you wake up, it's during the day, it's when you go to sleep at night. This ashram and this religion determined everything. He held absolute power over anything.
People that are seekers, people that are looking for meaning in this world. They're looking for their reason for living. But one of the successes of some of these guys is to keep people in a very peaceful control and expose them only to what's going on in there. And that compromises people. If people aren't fairly street smart, I always call it street smart, it sets up the victimhood.
There was a strange and vague line with intimacy there that was definitely not described or thought of as sexual at all. But there was a lot of intimacy as far as like rubbing feet and getting him dressed. If you thought it was sexual in nature, then there was some dirtiness in your mind.
He was very affectionate with everybody. And then the kids, he was really like cuddly. He'd give you hugs and kisses that just felt like your grandpa. But then sometime his kisses got weird.
I was about 12 years old.
I was between 12 and 14 years old.
I was 11 years old when the abuse started happening.
The first time that he put his hand up my shirt, I remember, I felt like it was exactly what I thought it was. I thought it was inappropriate touch, and it was pretty devastating to me.
As I was like, 11, 12, 13, it happened randomly in hallways.
Sometimes I'd be walking and he'd come by on his golf cart and ask me to hop on, and we'd go for a ride, and then somewhere in the middle of a ride, we'd stop the car. And
he would sometimes, show up at my house at 3 in the morning and just come in.
Then he'd tell me to go lock the door. And then he'd pull me onto the bed and kiss me and ask me to unhook my bra. It could be a couple of minutes, it could be 15, and then tell me to go.
You lived for the moments in between, and you just sort of hoped and prayed that they wouldn't happen too soon.
When she kind of knew and not only didn't stop it, but promoted it, like, what do you do as a kid? You've got nothing. I don't know what I was doing, but my mom asked why I was acting weird, and I kind of didn't really say anything because I didn't really know if what I had felt was what I had felt. And she said, well, I know what happened to you. And so I said, okay, and we kind of talked about it, and I was like, kind of flabbergasted when she told me to enjoy it.
And her mother told her that it was a test. That's she was doing, a test to test her dedication.
Part of me, as a child wanting your parents to take care of you, they should be like the one thing in your life that protects you from everything. When they don't, it's a massive failure and devastating. So when she kind of knew and not only didn't stop it, but promoted it, like, what do you do as a kid? You've got nothing,
To be a dad or a mom is a privilege. It is an honor. It is the biggest responsibility of your life. And until that child is 18, you are supposed to be the #1 protector and the #1 believer. And if your child has a problem, you're supposed to be the #1 solver. So when a little girl comes and says, Dad, I am scared. Something's very wrong. Somebody's doing something really creepy to me. The first thing you tell them is, I believe you.
So after talking to Shama and getting that confirmation that what had occurred to me had been happening to her, I don't know, I just panicked and I spent days in darkness writing in this journal. On the third day, my mother finally kind of burst into my room and was livid. She's like, I read your journal. And I kind of felt like throwing up because my assumption was that, at least that I was going to destroy her life when I told her about this horrible thing that happened to me, and that she was gonna be so angered that someone had done this to her daughter. And then the reality was I was in trouble for seeing it as something other than religious. One day, one of his preachers returned my journal with all the pages torn out. Very angry, like, here's your journal. So I knew that everybody knew what had happened and that I was just wrong. I got it all wrong.
Wrap your head around that. Not only did they not believe you, not do anything about it, they chastise you and go hang around and eat with and talk to and worship the pedophile. That's betrayal.
I had considered telling somebody, telling an adult outside of the ashram, but the idea of what would happen if I did was just too painful to accept. It was clear that I would not be leaving with my family, that if I told someone I would be pulled out away from my family. And I just didn't think I could do any of it. I didn't want to do any of it.
When I saw that word rape, it pretty much changed my whole world.
If you get failed another time, it can just, it's over.
Because I fell in love with computers, I eventually really wanted to go get a computer science degree. I was told by my mother that I shouldn't go and that I was being worldly and that I wasn't smart enough to go to college. But, you know, I just decided to take off and go.
When I turned 18 and moved out, I felt entirely free for the first time.
One of the biggest changes in our life at the ashram happened when Swamiji first revealed to us that he had a guru. Up till that point, I had no idea that there was another guru involved in this organization. I thought Swamiji was the tip top of the whole thing.
Kripalu was Swamiji's guru in India. And he used to travel as a preacher of Kripalu.
Kripalu's a man who many believe is God incarnate. Now we knew we had this other higher guru. Then we were told, okay, Kripalu's going to come to the US and he's going to stay in Barsana Dham.
When Kripalu came, like, things got really weird. And it was always lush and, there was, everything was gold and there were sheepskins and stuff around. But when Kripalu came, there were like Rolexes and Mercedes.
With our Swami, you didn't have to pay to spend personal time with him. But with Kripalu, it was a whole different story. To spend that time with him, to kind of sit with him for 10 minutes, would be $250. You could pay to go in and actually sit with him while he had dinner. That was about $2,500.
I was creeped out, but I had never heard any specific tales of abuse until the story in Trinidad.
God, I remember I started I couldn't stop shaking, and I clicked on it, and all these pages opened up, these news articles about how Kripalu had been accused by a young Trinidadian girl of rape.
More than one of the comments was talking about how this was not the first time. He had been arrested for rape in India in 1991. It involved 3 underage girls, and he had allegedly raped them all. When I saw that word rape, it pretty much changed my whole world. I realized that my Swami was exactly like Kripalu. Whatever Kripalu's involved in, my Swami is worshiping him, serving him, building him temples, inviting him to our temple. They're the same. I have no idea who they are, but they're clearly not the people I thought they were. And if they're raping and molesting people, someone needs to know about it and do something.
I think it just became clear that we weren't the beginning and the ending of any abuse. And that there was probably a lot more abuse out there. And I think that was the point when we realized, well, we should say something. So then after your parents, where do you go? You go to the police.
I think it was their fear that other little girls were going to suffer the same thing they did, and it would go on and on and on. The betrayal by their parents, the ability of this fake Swami to molest little girls. I think they got together and said, you know what? We like justice. We need to see him pay, but we got to stop him because we have sisters, friends that are still there, that are right in the crosshairs of his sights.
There was still a part of me that wanted to back out and just keep what I had, because I knew that what this scenario meant for me was a lot of personal loss. I knew I was losing my parents in this situation.
When someone fails you, like a spiritual leader, and then when your parents fail you, if you get failed another time, it can just, it's over.
He was able to successfully abuse children over years and repeatedly.
When she finally got to the place where she thought she was going to get justice, see somebody pay for destroying her life, she missed it by 2 months.
Even though I wasn't part of the temple anymore, I was still afraid that, if I came out against Swamiji, that I would transgress to the point where I would be going to hell. Those feelings of guilt that were ingrained from day one in my life were impossible to squish, but there's just some fundamental piece of logic in my mind that said, I have to do this. If you don't do this, then you're perpetuating the abuse just like the people who did it to you. So we kind of thought a little bit more about what we should be doing, and we decided to go directly to the police department and tell them about our story.
It was pretty intense, just the feeling of like, someone's gonna listen to us. It was also terrifying because someone's gonna listen to us and someone's gonna question everything about what we're saying.
I think one of the things that makes it such a horrific case is the fact that this man was really seen as a figurehead. He was seen as a spiritual leader. He had so much power and control. He was revered. He was idolized. Okay, he had the ability to look at so many people and guide their lives. And he did. And as a result of that, he was able to successfully abuse children over years and repeatedly.
When, you say, well, it's just touching a breast, and it wasn't him actually having sexual intercourse or, doing something worse. I mean, think about that from the perspective of Vesla or Kate or Shima. Any kind of activity that any normal woman should be able to engage in, like the first time you make love with your husband, the first time you nurse your child, those things are all tainted because of what this guy did to them. So there's no hierarchy of, oh, it wasn't that bad. It's all horrible. The first concern that I had was, what's the statute of limitations? And I pretty quickly realized that, unfortunately, in Kate's case, that we were past the statute of limitations for her. And that was a real kind of heartbreaking situation for her.
The statute of limitations in this case was 10 years after your 18th birthday. Kate Tonneson missed the statute of limitations by 2 months. When she finally got to the place where she thought she was gonna get justice, see somebody pay for destroying her life, she missed it by 2 months.
Her sister, Vesla, was younger, and so she was still in that realm of being able to do that, as well as the second victim, which was Shima.
In the case of Shima and Vesla, when you have somebody who is repeatedly molesting children, you could not possibly charge every single time something happened. So essentially what we did was we just decided we're going to charge 10 counts for each girl.
I was very happy and I backed them 100%. Whatever they needed to do, I wanted to support them.
We took the information that we had and we made a presentation to a grand jury that had been convened in Hays County. They heard the evidence of the girls' statements, and at that point, they returned an indictment against Swamiji.
When Swamiji was arrested, I knew that the process had begun, and I think I was excited but also terrified of what was coming next.
At that point, we are flagging him and his photograph, and we're asking the court to swear out a warrant. This man is fleeing. He's running. We learned very early on that the temple and the people out at the temple were not going to help. There was absolutely no belief whatsoever in these three young ladies. Everyone that lived out at the temple rallied around Swamiji.
The devotees somehow came up with a $1 million cash bond overnight. So he spent less than 24 hours in jail.
The guy's charged. Cops think it's important enough. A grand jury says this is awful. They go out and arrest him. And then the adults in that community, in that ashram, raise $1 million for a bond, hire a team of lawyers and a PR agent. Is that an equal playing field? Not in my book. That's like a 12-year-old kid playing the Dallas Cowboys in the Super Bowl.
It took 3 years to get to trial. Some of these lawyers played a lot of cards to extend and extend.
The report came through his lawyers that he had some type of medical issues that he was dealing with, including a back injury of some sort. Doctor said, yeah, he may need a special chair if he wants one, but he can certainly sit in the trial.
The hardest part about the trial was just seeing all these people that I grew up with, all of my family, just staring at me with the most evil looks and eyes ever, including my sister and my mom and my dad.
When I walked into the courtroom and I looked over at Swamiji, he looked at me in the eyes and smiled like I was his kid or I was his and that he possessed me. I just was like, you mother, you do not own me, I am not wrong. It just changed my entire approach and thoughts about how I was going to testify. I was so terrified, but he made it so easy for me to just spill my guts, and I did.
I was just hoping that the jury saw in the girls what we had seen, and that they did recognize that they were telling the truth. The verdict came back guilty on all counts in both cases.
Swamiji was convicted with 20 counts of indecency with a minor.
We heard guilty, and I think all of us just, it was over, finally. And people listened.
When we all left for the weekend, we were getting ready to start up again for the punishment phase of the trial on Monday.
Still, none of us understand why, but Swamiji was allowed to return to the ashram.
We arrived to court bright and early Monday morning. The jury was filing into the courthouse.
I was noticing how many fewer devotees were in the courtroom that morning. I was noticing how casual they appeared. I was noticing that a couple of the preachers were just randomly reading magazines. I know those devotees. I know how they think. Those were not people worried that their guru was going to go to jail. There was something up. I was watching the clock. It's 9, it's 9:01, it's 9:02, nothing. There's no guru.
So Swamiji never showed up.
At that point, we are flagging him and his photograph, and we're asking the court to swear out a warrant. This man is fleeing. He's running.
Saraswati went to Mexico across the border. We're trying to find a very small needle in a very large haystack.
Well, okay, let's just get started. If he doesn't want to be here, we'll go on without him. He was sentenced by the jury to serve 14 years on each of the counts.
We started doing some work and found out that he had actually been admitted to a local hospital emergency room over the weekend. They had recommended him to another hospital. However, he never showed up at that hospital. And then shortly thereafter, the trail goes cold.
What happened in this case happens all over America. I'll never know why. Think about it. He's from another country. He's got the resources to run. He did. The final slap in the face for these girls.
U.S. Marshals conducted an interview with a couple of close confidants in the inner circle of Saraswati. As best as the Marshal Service can reconcile, Saraswati left Hays County Sunday night, went to Mexico across the border at the Laredo, Texas port of entry. Mexico's a very large country. We're trying to find essentially a very small needle in a very large haystack. Problem is, we just could not pinpoint a specific location. Investigators here in Austin began hearing chatter, began receiving bits of information that Saraswati had in fact made it to India.
As far as I know, from sources I have in India, Saraswati is still living in India. He lives in various places. One of them is a suburb south of Delhi. One of them is Missouri. They're up in the Himalayan mountains.
Kripalu, we learned, passed away back in the fall of last year. The case in Trinidad was ultimately dropped, but it was amid rumors of corruption and bribery, so we'll never really know what happened there.
Just because the trial's over, it doesn't go away. Like, we're still gonna have this for our entire lives. Like, the moment he decided to go through with the abuse with each of us for the first time, he put us in a position where this is a never-ending thing for us. And, you know, the trial and him escaping and Everything after that is just part of this.
He's still out there and he's still abusing people, whether, sexually or emotionally. And I don't think that will stop until he's imprisoned.
We need the assistance of the Indian law enforcement community to confirm Saraswati's location and presence so that we, the U.S. Marshal Service, can proceed with seeking his provisional arrest. It's an ongoing case. This is not just a case we worked up to a certain point and put it away. We're going to continue the hunt till Saraswati's held to account.
Prakashanand Saraswati is thought to have various health issues, including back problems and possibly diabetes. U.S. Marshals believe he's living in India between New Delhi and the town of Mussoorie. If you've seen Prakashanand Saraswati, please call 1-866-THE-HUNT or go online at cnn.com/The Hunt. You can remain anonymous. We'll pass your tip on to the proper authorities, and if requested, will not reveal your name.
I've tried to relate it. It feels like potentially what it feels like when a parent dies. But it wasn't death that took him away. It was their own attachment to their guru that allowed them to override their love for me and my sister. Vesla and Shama and I are inextricably bound now. You go through something like this together, and you can't break the bond that was built when you were holding each other up in the way we did.